Cause I've been in these streets all day. Matter of fact, girl, I'm on my way. Pulled up, goddamn girl, look at that body. You already got me bobbing, ay, the top down when we riding. Cause we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin'. There's something about you, yeah. Something about you. Everybody wants you and I know it. I really want you back, but I can't show it. Seeing in my look how you glowing. I'm tryna whip the whip, but I can't focus. Casamigo got me speeding while we rolling. Sun shining on our skin, feeling golden. There's something about you. All that laughing, girl, you know you it. About your money and you own this shit, yeah. There's something about you, yeah. There's something about you. Whether we rollin', smoking, drinking, flying, hoping, you know we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep it poppin'. Cause I've been in these streets all day. Sun shining, my skin feeling golden. There's something about you, yeah. There's something about you. Everybody wants you and I know it. There's something about you, yeah. There's something about you. Whether we rollin', smoking, drinking, flying, hoping, you know it. We keep it poppin', we keep it poppin', we keep whether we rollin', smoking, drinking, flying, hoping.
You ain't been where I've been, came where I'm from. Like a mile in my shoes, I'm not you. You ain't been where I've been, came where I'm from. Like a mile in my shoes, I'm not you. You ain't been where I've been, came where I'm from. Like a mile in my shoes, I'm not you. I've been, came where I'm from. Like a mile in my shoes.
Yeah. What up, everybody? It's your man KB, and this is the Urban Sports Review. Y'all know I was about to say Easy on the Eyes podcast. We in here on this Thursday evening. You know, we chilling. We got a lot of sports to talk about. Things. Fucking Garcia out, Lamar Jackson deal, and what else we got? What else? We got NBA playoffs that's popping right now. We got the Warriors and the Lakers coming up tonight. You know what I mean? But in the building, I got my man, Mr. J. Will. J. Will, please join us. I'm about to pull up real quick. Set my music up straight. Y'all got to bear with me. I am Oval right now. Shout out to my man Wyo. That's what you get for the background. There we go. What up, Jay? What up, Jay?
Hey, man. Thankful Thursday in the building. You know, the Sports Digest. We have a lot to talk about. As KB was saying, Devontae knocked out this guy they call King Ryan. Not sure why they called him that. he was an Instagram social media star and a fake boxer. He knocked him out with a body punch, and he just quit. And all of a sudden, he wanted to exchange numbers with Devontae. Isn't that amazing? That's really amazing how all this hate, he was going to knock him out, is going to be something that he never felt before. And what happens? He goes home as a loser. So, after that, he said he wanted to move up to 140.
Hey, Jay, he asked him before they hey, look, he asked him before they even, I said he asked him before they even fought. He said, after the fight, can we be friends?
Yeah, I mean, but all that stuff he was talking, he was on the Mike Tyson show talking about he was going to knock him out. He can't wait. What you going to do with all this power? It's so funny when the lights turn on and everybody's looking at you, how he turned into a chump. But that's what we expect with all these guys, man. All this talking and talking. Most of the time, when you about your business, you're not going to do all that talking.
Right. He definitely was. They had him labeled as the people's champ. They wanted to. He was the great white hype, even though he wasn't white. But they know what they wanted. They know what they wanted. They couldn't see that. You know what I mean? That be more image. They don't want that as the face of boxing. But to be honest, I know Gervonta said he was the face of boxing, and I'm from Baltimore. I'm Team GTD. Shout out to my little nephew, my Tino. You know what I mean? And fight with them, and so I'm Team GTD. But I got Gervonta said he the face of. I need him to have. It might be selfish of me, but I want him to have all the belts. Because when I looked at the list that came out last week with ESPN, they didn't even have him top 10 pound for pound. He wasn't even ranked. And when I followed the belts, Haney, that's the thing is like Devin Haney, he got all the belts in that weight class. So it's like, I feel as though Gervonta got to fight Haney and take the belts from him. And I know Haney and them fight coming up next week. So what you think about that?
So Haney has the belts. He took the mission of going over the seas and fighting Kambosa. And when he did that, he actually got all the belts. So everybody's calling him not the champ and all these other things. But he's saying to them, I got all the belts. So while you talk about this belt and that belt, I got all the belts. So now who really is the champ? So he has a fight May 20th against Lomachenko. So we'll see, because they said he has no power. They said he punches and I feel like he pillow punching. That's what King Ryan said. But Shakur didn't say it. Shakur just said he got the best of him in sparring. And before the Tank fight, I believe there was some controversy or some conversations between the Tank camp and his father said, because the thought was, because he's a bigger 135-pound fighter, the thought was that he would move up to 140. So his father told Tank's team, we're staying at 135. So either if Haney wins this fight against Lomachenko, we have a lot of people that want to jump in the ring and want to get down to business. We'll see. I mean, he's been doing it, and he has the belts. If he goes in there and beat Lomachenko, we'll see. And May 20th, which is like 2 weeks away, we'll have everything. We'll have whether Haney won, whether Haney lost, who's going to be the next person to fight Tank. It's all wide open. But we do know that King Ryan would never get in the ring with Tank again because it's just a terrible matchup. He's not a good fighter, as you saw. He steps back with his head up. And what Tank do? Knocked him out in the second round and then finished him in the seventh. And what's so ironic about that, a lot of people were saying the seventh round. Even Tank said the seventh or the eighth. Ryan Clark said the seventh. I think Brandon Marshall, when he was talking to Tank, he said seventh round. So I guess everybody knew in their mind that King Ryan couldn't last. He couldn't last. So it's all about competition. And we see on the one side where Crawford and Spence can't sign the deal, and I clap these guys because they signed the deal and they fought. And that's what boxing is about. You fight the best, and see who is the best. So that weight division 135, 140 is lightning. So let's see if all these guys get together. Because Shakur Stevenson is saying he's the best. You know, that's what he's saying. He's like, I'm the best. And everybody knows I'm the best. I'm the fighter, I'm the boxer, or whatever, and everything like that. And I'm getting stronger and my power's about to show. So that means there's going to be a collision course between Tank and Shakur, Haney, Tank and Shakur, and let's see who comes out victorious.
I don't know about Shakur being the best because he don't have no belts. But me personally, I want they got Tank with one belt and Haney with the other four, right? I feel as though that's the fight that I want to see. If Haney win this fight on the 20th, that's the fight I want to see. I don't want to see Haney fight nobody else. I don't want to see Tank fight nobody else. That's the top. That's the two giants in the weight class. They need to go ahead and meet. And that's just how I feel. And I can't, I'm hometown, I'm biased with the hometown and everything, but I still can't say he the face of boxing when I got another champion in your weight class dancing around with 4 other belts. And you only got 1 belt. You're just a perennial champ. You're the perennial champ. That's what they call it, right? Right. But to be honest, that's why, I mean, of course I grew up on Mike Tyson. Yeah, I mean, that's my champ and all that. And I really didn't follow boxing because I always said, man, there's too many belts in boxing. Give me lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight. That's it. Yeah, I mean, one belt. There was too many belts. I noticed that dudes be 5 pounds away from each other, not wanting to fight. Yeah, I mean, running from each other. And look, right. We in the streets, I'm 170, 175. I gotta fight a dude 200. If he run up, I can't say, yo, you weigh more than me. Yeah, I mean, so I don't know. That's just me. Hopefully, somebody tag Calvin and tell Calvin, look, that's the we want to see. We don't want to see no pit bull fight. That ain't who I want to see Tank. That ain't who I want to see Tank's fight.
Yeah. What's the point of that? That Tank fight. I mean, a pit bull fight. Nobody wants to see that.
Right. Now, against Golden State. Now, I know you feel a certain way about the NBA. Go ahead with the people. I'm gonna ask you 2 questions. Who do you got coming out the West, and who do you got coming out the East? But you can break down that game tonight as well.
So, as far as the East, it's a real intriguing situation because if everybody was paying attention, all the lower seeds won. That usually doesn't happen, except for Denver and the Celtics are the only higher seeds that won in the first round. You had Miami beating the number 1 seed. You had the Lakers winning, and you had Golden State winning. Well, both of those actual teams were the lower seed. And then you also had Phoenix who won the first round, where that was a higher seed. So it's the year of the underdog. And because I know the NBA is a business, right? Clear out a business. You see things like this happen. James Harden and the Sixers beat the Celtics game 1. Embiid didn't play. They announced Embiid as a MVP. They go out there against the Celtics. Same James Harden with Embiid playing, and you lose by 30. That just shows me that NBA is a business. And that's why I look at it with a skeptical eye. Because years and years ago, I became an educated fan instead of a fan. A fan just looks at the game for what it is. An educated fan really dissects the game and understand that the NBA is set up in a certain way, and it's about viewership and money making. So, because of that, ironically, the game is a 30-point blowout. How can a team that has Embiid and Harden and all the other pieces that Philadelphia has get beat by 30 points against a team that they had just beat 2 days ago? Doesn't make any sense. So when you look at that Eastern Conference, I believe Miami beats New York because New York is another team. In the first game, they lost against Jimmy Butler and Miami Heat. The second game, Jimmy Butler didn't play, and Miami was in the game all the way up into the fourth quarter. And this is with Julius Randle coming back because he didn't play game one. So the Knicks were fully healthy and barely beat Miami without their best player. So it's smart Miami to sit Jimmy Butler, let that ankle heal up, and they don't play till Saturday. So he should be well rested. And I think they beat the Knicks in that series. Now you get to the other side with the Sixers and the Celtics. I said previously, when they fired that coach, this is a new coach, and I think that's going to catch up with them in the playoffs. That's what I said in my mind. So I really can't pick that because I got to see what happens in game 3. Once I see game 3, then I really have an idea. So I'll tell you next week. I have an idea of how that series is going to play out. Now, if you go on the other side, you have Phoenix going against Denver. Denver's the number 1 seed and have a 2-0 lead on Phoenix. I know that everybody was clamoring when they traded KD over to Phoenix, but when they traded KD over to Phoenix, they lost crucial pieces to their puzzle. And it depleted their bench. So now you have CP3 with a hamstring injury, and now you down to Devin Booker. And basically Kevin Durant to try to pull the load. And Denver brings several challenges because Ayton is not the piece that they think he is because Joker gives them the blues. So you got a healthy Jamal Murray, you have Joker, you got Michael Porter, you got Aaron Gordon. So I think it's just too much. I do give Phoenix this kind of credit. Because the trade happens so late in the season, once the offseason happens, they'll be able to retool and come back and be even stronger next year because it'll be free agents and veterans that will want to come over and play with them. I think it's over for them this year. Denver's going to the finals. And on the last thing about this is the Lakers and the Warriors.
Hold on, before you go there, about CP3 and Phoenix, you think CP3 coming back next year? Or you think they got to move on without him? Because he never there in the playoffs.
I think he will want to come back, but I think for their sake, they have to move forward and try to get other pieces around them because the Devin Booker and Kevin Durant nucleus is a good match because they can play off each other. They just need a bench. You can't have your starters playing all those minutes and have the responsibility to score the points between two guys. So you need other pieces. When they let go of those two guys, they come over to the Brooklyn, and the one guy, and them guys took Brooklyn to the playoffs. If they had those two pieces, they would be up in the series because I think they would have beat Denver if they had those two pieces. Because those guys play defense and score. You got rid of two important pieces on your team. Now you don't have those pieces, and now you need to retool the cupboard and get more basketball players and more people that can contribute on your team.
You think they can get a point guard in and bring Chris Paul off the bench, which would manage his workload?
Yeah, I think they can do that. I think a lot of guys want to play with KD and now Devin Booker. So you'll have those veterans that sign for the minimum that want to come play for them. Right now, it's too late for you to get those, but I think a lot of guys want to chase a ring and want to be around a team that is suspected to be one of the best teams in the Western Conference next year if they're able to surround those pieces that they have with veteran pieces that can score. He can help out defensively.
Okay. All right. So now about the Lakers.
So I think
hey, before you talk about the Lakers and Golden State, because we ain't talked last week. What about the Lakers and Memphis? What was his name? Dylan Brooks, and what they did with him, and what Memphis did to him. Like they look like they tried to make him the scapegoat.
Well, you know, some sometimes in an organization, when you're a young organization, you can't have all that fanfare and all the stuff that he was doing. He was trying to make his name for himself, trying to embarrass, and try to get LeBron James into a battle where he's not thinking about the team and only thinking about Dylan Brooks. Dylan Brooks, you're not a superstar. So now you saw what your shenanigans did. They released you. And don't get me wrong, I think he'd be a great fit in Phoenix. But that team right there, and they wasn't at full strength. They didn't have big men. But the record when LeBron James and Anthony Davis have played together have been excellent. So if you have those two guys and those guys are playing at a high level, and I like what they did when they surrounded those players with pieces that can shoot from the outside and defensive in a better fit than Russell Westbrook. And I give Russell Westbrook his props because when he went to the Clippers, he played very well. But he wasn't a good fit for what LA had in place. Bringing in D'Lo, bringing in all those guys, the one guy from Washington, Rio, and then all those other guys, Reeves stepping up, and all those other guys they brought in to help with shooting from the outside and open up the lane so that Anthony Davis can have room to do his thing has really helped them. So Memphis, an up-and-coming team, but I think they took a step back, and I think Ja Morant is small, and he continued to get hurt because that frame, 6'3", 170, cannot handle the pounding. And this is not a day of the small guards, right? Then it was back in the day where small guards dominated the game. Yeah, you have Steph Curry, but other than that, you don't have guards dominating the game, getting you to the next level. So I feel bad for Ja because I thought that they were an up-and-coming team. But now you release a guy off your team that's really the heart and soul of the toughness. So I don't know which way they're going to go. It'll be interesting what they do in the offseason.
Well, remember a few months ago when we talked about Memphis when Ja got locked up, well, he had the gun incident and they had to fight the team. And I was saying back then, like, because I'm a Memphis fan. I wanted Memphis to do well. I'm a Ja Morant. I like Ja Morant, right? And I was saying, man, what's wrong with them? It's like the team want to be thugged out. Like, they got a whole nother agenda. They beefing with teams and waiting for guys at the bus. And then it's Smargo on the court arguing. You know, they might have had a fight, the skirmish with Shannon Sharp and all that stuff like that. And it's like, then Dylan Brooks come out, he start talking trash. Do you think they got to change the culture down there? Are they too wild? They too thugged out down there? Like, what's going on?
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's got to be a culture shift because the shift they were going on, they thought they needed that extra edge in order to survive in the Western Conference. And as you see, no other teams are coming in with that kind of mental capacity or that kind of culture. The Lakers don't have that culture. The Clippers don't have that culture. Golden State doesn't have that culture. Denver doesn't have that culture. Phoenix doesn't have that culture. So I don't understand why they thought that was the culture they needed for them to be successful. You know, if you got talent, let your talent show out, opposed to trying to pick fights and trying to get in people's head mentally instead of playing the game. And I think with his actions kind of took them out of their rhythm. For you to get beat by 30 points in game 6, you just got right out of the building. It just makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. Yeah, that's a little snippet on that situation. Let me get back to now. Let's get to the current series at hand. I really think the NBA didn't want the Sacramento Kings to win. There's no way you get game 7 at your home place and you lose by 20. When is that? Where do you see that happen at?
Normally you win game 7 in your house.
And Sacramento lost by 20 because the NBA knew they didn't want to have Sacramento against the Lakers. They wanted this. The NBA wanted the Warriors against the Lakers. That's what they wanted. And that's what they got.
Okay.
The NBA is a business, people. And like I said previously, when you understand, when you become an educated fan instead of a fan and just watch the game for fun and you're looking at it and you think everything is realistic, you'll start to see how these trends and how these things happen in football, basketball, baseball, college sports. It all happens. All you got to do is have your keen eye looking and you'll see. I guarantee you. But jumping to the Lakers and the Warriors, I knew they were going to win game one because Golden State had just went to a 7-game series. The Lakers were home resting, and they had a short turnaround before they had to play game one. And the Lakers tried to give it away, but they ended up winning 117-112. What I do know is tonight you'll see a totally different game. You won't see Anthony Davis with 30 and 23. It'll be like, what are you watching? When you see the game tonight and Golden State wins in some type of fashion, then everybody's saying, oh, we got to have Anthony Davis. And LeBron comes out and says whatever he says, and then the role players don't play well. You'll start to say, oh, is this stuff playing? Or is this really them playing? Because if you look at Anthony Davis, there's no way if he played 4 quarters, he shouldn't have 30, 25, or whatever. When he end up with like 21 or something crazy like that, and they lose tonight, you'll start to understand where I'm coming from. Because I think there's no way the Lakers win tonight. And watch when you wake up tomorrow, and I wake up tomorrow and I see the score, and I see the stats, and I see everything that happens. There's nobody gonna let Golden State go down 0-2. There's no way. Even though they did against Sacramento, so that goes to show you how they wanted it playing. They wanted to be dramatic. They allowed Sacramento win Game 6. So when you look at Sacramento winning Game 6 inside Golden State and then going home and laying an egg like that,
Right.
it's a plan.
So you don't have who do you have winning that series between the Lakers and Golden State?
I got the Lakers winning because if the Lakers matchup, the matchup against the Lakers and Golden State, it's a terrible matchup for Golden State. As long as Anthony Davis don't become Street Clothes Davis again, and he stays in the game and he stays healthy, they should win. But even if they win, it might be tough for them to beat Denver. You might have Denver against the Celtics or Denver against Philadelphia in the conference finals. So you'll see something different, and you'll have a new champion. So you won't have no Golden State, you won't have no Celtics. So it should be very interesting. Even though I haven't watched any games, because I look at the NBA as AAU basketball, and I used to love the NBA, but now I look at it as AAU basketball, and it's not really entertaining. I prefer to watch the college game. More excitement. They play with energy. They run sets and they run offense. All this walk up. If you watch Cleveland, it was a Donovan Mitchell show. That's why they lost to New York. One-on-one basketball. And it just was horrible to watch.
Right. So Denver and the Lakers. That's not a good matchup for the Lakers.
I mean, it's a good matchup. I mean, you have Anthony Davis, which will give Joker issues, right? And you have LeBron. I don't know who they're gonna put on LeBron. So it will be a good matchup. But I think that the Lakers have run out of energy. You know, LeBron James is 38 years old, still trying to play at a high level. Anthony Davis is brittle. I don't know if they'll be able to handle that. I'm not picking anything right now because I just gotta see everything in these next couple games, and I'll have a definite definitive answer to both of those questions. But right now, it's still early. I just gotta see how the results happen in these next couple games. By the end of the week, next week, I'll have all the answers for you for sure.
All right. So I've been still doing my parlays. I've been doing them a little different. I hit on Monday. On Tuesday, whenever the Lakers played Golden State, I went Anthony Davis with a double-double. I went Steph Curry making more than 3.5 threes. Then I picked the Baltimore Orioles, and it was the Baltimore Orioles and Pittsburgh Pirates or Tampa Bay. It was one of them. I parlayed them. And that's what. So right now I'm doing the parlays. I'm looking for the No, I had Philly. I had Philly beating Boston, but that was before I knew that Embiid was out. So I didn't even know Embiid didn't even play the first game. I just knew Harden came in there dressed like I don't know what. And when I posted,
You like Cookie Monster. You like the Cookie Monster.
when I posted that picture on my page, that's what somebody said. Yeah, he can dress how he want. He came in there and gave him 45 with the W last night. I was like, with no Embiid, I was like, no Embiid. And I went back and I looked at, I don't watch the games either. So, yeah, I mean, that's crazy how we don't watch the games, but we get the picks and stuff right.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. Because if you understand sports, man, you know how things roll. You know what's going to happen.
So with that being said, we're gonna do something special because the NFL had his draft last week, and that's pretty much why we wasn't live because we didn't want to compete with the draft on the Thursday, the first day of the draft. Then we debated about coming on Friday, but we came up with the good idea that let's come on next week and let's give a breakdown of the 32 teams. We're going to give a breakdown 32 teams from the bottom to the top. Which teams you got ranked, how you have them ranked with the draft and with the moves that they made throughout the past few months. So, but before we go there, I got to say, shout out to my Baltimore Ravens. They did exactly what I said they should do. They paid Lamar. They paid him 50 plus for the year. And I'm telling you, I think that was a play, man. I'm telling you, I think that was a play. And when I listened to Lamar's interview earlier, I wish I had Troy here earlier. I wish Nancy would go ahead today because he kept saying, Lamar, man, he don't want to play for them no more. All of that. And I kept saying, man, you got to keep your feelings out of business. That's not how you run businesses with your heart, your emotions, bro. And that's what Lamar got up there and said today. But we're going to go through 32 teams. We'll give each team 32 seconds and give us our breakdown, Jay, on how you feel from the bottom to the top, the draft, who's ranked what, who you like preseason.
Absolutely. Before I even start, Jalen Hurts getting that contract was the catalyst for that. And that was the benchmark that started the Lamar Jackson situation because he signed right after Jalen Hurts signed. So I think the Ravens, like you said, was waiting on a parameter to see what was going to happen. So shout out to the Ravens. Shout out to Lamar Jackson for being his own agent. We didn't even speak on that. So guys, all the guys that have these agents and they're taking 3 to 7% from you, why do you need them? Just get a lawyer to read the contract. Negotiate yourself. Put that money in your pocket instead of in their pockets. Wake up. Lamar Jackson just showed you don't need it. And it's funny how the Ravens GM came out and said after that Lamar is a good agent. How hilarious. But let's get back on topic, right? NFL had his draft, and, I don't know why they take so long with the draft picks and anything like that. But after, the first round, the second rounds, and things of that nature, I'm going to tell you, what I believe is the power rankings after the draft. 30, and like KB said, 32 teams and 32 teams, 32 seconds apiece. So I'll be real quick, and I'm just going to give you my point of view. At number 32, we have the Arizona Cardinals, right? They have no Kyler Murray. They traded with Houston, who moved up from 12 to the third pick, and they get an extra first-round draft pick next year. But going into the season, Kyler Murray won't be playing. They drafted an offensive lineman, but they lost J.J. Watt from their defensive line, and they got players in the safety, Buda Baker, that wants to get traded. So I think it's going to be a disaster. Not only that, they hired a coach who couldn't stop Patrick Mahomes in the whole second half, who was the Philadelphia Eagles defensive coach, and you let him in. And you look at that performance and you bring him in as your head coach. I think they're lost. So I got them at 32. Now, it's kind of tricky here. I have Houston at 31, even though they drafted C.J. Stroud, even though all this talk was like they're not drafting a quarterback at number 2. And they did all that talking and drafted C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud is used to playing with 5-star receivers. Their receiver core is kind of mediocre. And then they did another move with trading up with Arizona from 12 to 3 to draft the guy Anderson from Alabama. Now, the one thing you do when you draft a quarterback is you surround him with offensive pieces. So I think it's going to be a struggle for him. And sure, you got DeMeco Ryans as the head coach, and he's a defensive guy coming from San Francisco, and you want to get that cornerstone for your defense. But you shouldn't give up a first-round pick when you were still at number 12. You could have got a good defensive player there. So I think that was a risky move because you need all the picks you can because you're trying to build the team. So we'll see what happens. At number 30, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers sold their soul for a Super Bowl and was in the Tom Brady situation, and now Tom Brady walked away. Now you're sitting there with Kyle Trask, and you have Baker Mayfield. Once again, you have Baker Mayfield. So you have Mike Evans, you have Chris Godwin, all these guys that are built for success and winning. So I think there's going to be a lot of confusion there. And what's going to happen is, come trade deadline, they're going to try to get more pieces because they're in a rebuild mode. So then you have the Los Angeles Rams. And nobody would think after winning the Super Bowl 2 years ago, they would be so far down in the cycle, right? But I have them at 29, right? They have Matthew Stafford that's coming off an injury. They traded Jalen Ramsey. They only have Cooper Kupp. They signed Allen Robinson last year, and he's gone. So they have Aaron Donald. They got rid of some of their defensive players, so I think they're in a rebuild mode. This is what happened when you sell your soul. You have no first-round picks for the last 4 years, and you're picking up free agents, trying to put things together. Now you're in a rut. I think that whole division is going to be ran by the 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll see, because now that there's not superstars around, Matthew Stafford, is he going to turn back to the Detroit Matthew Stafford? We'll see. We'll see. Now we have the Las Vegas Raiders, right? They drafted Tyree Wilson to help out Max Crosby on the offensive line, and they picked up Jimmy Garoppolo. Traded away Darren Waller, but picked up another tight end in the draft. But as I say before, I call him Josh McGidigan because I do not understand how a guy, years before he became the Las Vegas Raiders coach, he accepted a job and then said no and went back to the Patriots. So while all these teams was clamoring over hiring him, wash and repeat. Once y'all get some new blood in there and stop re-hiring these same guys who failed before. What's the point? So hopefully Jimmy Garoppolo and Devontae Adams get on the same page, because the whole reason he came there was for Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is in New Orleans now. So we'll see what they do. I'm not sure how it's going to turn out, but we'll see. Next, we have Green Bay. The saga with Aaron Rodgers. They finally traded him. And for some reason, Green Bay, you just traded places with Green Bay in the first round. So you went from 13 to 15. If anything, I would have not you get neither one of those picks. I'd have had both first-round picks, and then I got a third-round pick from you. But for you to allow them to get the pick and get Aaron Rodgers, kind of confusing. But now you have the unknown. Jordan Love has been there about 3 years. Haven't been on the field, so we'll see what happens. And he has young receivers, and we'll see if he can make it happen. They drafted defense in the first round again. Refused to draft a wide receiver in the first round. So we'll see. I mean, with all those first-round draft picks on the defense, they should be top-rated. But they haven't been top-rated yet. The unknown, let's see what happens. Then you have the Carolina Panthers, right?
What number are they? Right.
Carolina Panthers are ranked 20. So hold on. 32. So now you had the Carolina Panthers at 26, right? They made that jump up to get Bryce Young. And sure, he has all the attributes, everything that you can name of, but he's small. He's smaller than Tua. He's smaller than Russell Wilson. And they keep saying that he'll be able to figure it out. Now, don't get me wrong. They surrounded him with the coaching staff and the environment and the culture with great pieces, right? You got Frank Wright, offensive coach. They never had an offensive coach since for a long time in Carolina. You picked up Adam Thielen. You picked up the running back from Philly. And you drafted a good receiver, so I give you that. You drafted a guy from Ole Miss, and I think that was a great pickup. And now you want to put this young guy who has succeeded on every level, but you put him in a fire. Getting hit by those guys in college is different getting hit by these guys in the pros. I pray that he don't get hurt, but he's a small guy. So you drafted up, gave Chicago a first-round pick. You gave him DJ Moore, your best receiver. So hopefully Bryce Young is an answer. If not, that was a waste of assets and picks to jump up. So they're at 26. Then you get up to the Colts at 25, right? The Colts drafted Anthony Richardson. He was the combine superstar, running a 4.4 40 for a quarterback. Crazy athleticism, jumping up high. But accuracy issues. And he hasn't really won or been dominant on any level. So I think, though, because they took the coach, the offensive coordinator for the Eagles last year became their coach. So he did it with Jalen Hurts, helped him reach his potential. So I think from the Indianapolis coach situation, after the debacle last year, hiring Jeff Saturday right off the ESPN sports desk as a head coach, which made no sense from a crazy owner. Hopefully, they're moving in the right direction because I think the structure around them with Jonathan Taylor in the backfield, you have two big receivers on the outside, you got a good offensive line, defense is okay. I think they'll be in a good position, but it all depends on the quarterback, so it's the unknown. So that's why they're going to have to stay down low because it's the unknown. If you don't know about the most important position on your team, they got to stay down lower. Then I think their potential is higher, but it's the unknown factor because I don't know. So now you get up to Chicago at 24. I like what they did in the offseason with getting DJ Moore, so now they have a number one. They drafted an offensive tackle to give Justin Fields more time. Justin Fields had a breakout season running the ball and being a playmaker. So now it's time for him to be a quarterback all the way through and see if he can make the next step. They made a lot of acquisitions and free agency, plucked some pieces from Philadelphia on the defensive side, plucked pieces from Buffalo. So we'll see. We'll see if Justin Fields can take the next step. The ownership is believing in him. And I like it, The division is wide open with Aaron Rodgers leaving. I think Detroit is going to step up, but we never know. You still got Kirk throw it for 5 yards on 4th and 15 in a playoff game, Cousins. So we'll see. We'll see. Next, we have Tennessee. Tennessee is in a tough situation because still have Ryan Tannehill, was doing a yard sale on the offseason, but you still have the nucleus of Rylan Taylor. You still have Derrick Henry. They actually jumped up and drafted Will Levis in the second round. And he was a guy that they said was going to be in the first-round pick, but he dropped down. So hopefully they're drafting for the future. Even though they picked Malik Willis in the 3rd or 4th round last year, to go back and draft another quarterback the next year, that means you don't believe in Malik Willis. So we'll see. They did sign their defensive tackle on the other side, one of their stars, to a deal. So maybe their yard sale wasn't a complete yard sale, but on the skill positions, they are lacking. So unless they have something hidden or they pick up different guys before the season starts, I'll see them at 24 or 23. So now you have the Denver Broncos at 22. the biggest acquisition for them was Sean Payton as a coach. They got rid of the coach that they had last year, where they were averaging 12.5 points a game with that kind of firepower. So now Sean Payton, will he be able to help Russ cook? Because Russ wasn't cooking anything last year. He was ordering out a lot. So is Sean Payton going to be able to get in to that organization and fix Russell Wilson so they can take the next step? Because everybody thought when Russell Wilson went there last year that they was going to be a contender. But they turned out to be a pretender. So we'll see. I think they have a shot because Sean Payton is a good coach, but I'm not sure.
I'm thinking Russell Wilson. I'm thinking the Seahawks knew something about Russell Wilson, right? Where's okay, his time has come. Just like I'm thinking that Green Bay knew about Aaron Rodgers. Because they gave up Aaron Rodgers for cheap, right?
Well, I wouldn't say for cheap. You know, the second round pick to turn into a first rounder, depending on if he plays 65% of the snaps. So essentially, be for a swap of first round pick and another first round pick, and they got a third round pick. So I don't think it's for cheap. I think that Jets probably. I think that Packers did know something about Aaron Rodgers, and the Jets are hoping. Even though, if you look at Aaron Rodgers, we didn't have to be getting in the playoffs. Now he's in a tougher division.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything.
Right, in the NFC, it was easy. It was easier. Now you got to face all the tough quarterbacks in the AFC. How's that going to work out?
And you got to face all the tough defense.
That's what I'm saying. So it's going to be different.
Okay, so carry on. I just wanted to get that in. You were talking about Denver.
No problem. So yeah, that's Denver for them. You know, they drafted a running back from North Carolina who tore the ACL like last year. So I'm not sure when he's going to come back. But they did pluck the backup running back from Cincinnati. So I think he'll be Ryan. So I think he'll be the starter. They still have two weapons on the outside. They signed Jerry Jeudy to his fifth-year option. You got Cortland Sutton on the outside. So I think they got a good nucleus offensively, and their defense wasn't bad last year. So if Sean Payton can help Russell cook a little bit, and they can come out, they'll be able to make a point. But they're still unknown. There's no guarantees with that. We don't know if Russ is over with. We have no idea. So these teams that are down low, it's a lot of unknowns. We don't know whether they can do what they said they're going to do. We have no idea. Up next is the Washington Commanders. Good for the Washington Commanders. You got sold, but you're going into the season with Sam Howell, unknown, and Jacoby Brissett is a backup. You draft a small corner in the first round. I didn't know why you drafted him when you had Anthony Gonzalez, who they said was the top-rated corner. You draft Emmanuel Forbes from Mississippi State. I think he like 6 feet, 155 pounds, something like that. When you have all these big receivers in the NFC, why would you draft him? But they seemed happy about it. But we'll see. They have great skill positions, but unknown at quarterback. So we don't know. And then they didn't sign or pick up the fifth-year option on Chase Young. Shout out to Troy for that. They're your Washington Commanders not picking up the fifth-year option on Chase Young. What are you guys doing? Hopefully you know something that I don't know. But I know he's been injured a little bit, but why not pick up the fifth-year option? Next up is the Cleveland Browns. So, no. You know what? Next up is Miami. I'm not even going to I'll put Cleveland away. Next up is Miami.
Where you got to rank that? What's Miami rank? Where they rank that?
Number 20.
Number 20? All right.
So, Miami picked up Jalen Ramsey. Well, because of the tampering with Tom Brady, they lost that first-round pick. So, that's already starting them off bad. They have skill positions galore. Defense wasn't bad last year, but you still have the question mark of Tua. One more concussion, I think it's done for him. So unless they can keep him upright, they're tangling on the edge of being super good or out of it completely, depending on how Tua plays this year, or if he plays the whole season, if he doesn't get injured. So that's the biggest move for them was Jalen Ramsey. You know, they did a couple things in the draft, but everything is pivotal on their quarterback. If the quarterback is not healthy, that's the number one position. You got to have that guy that trigger everything. And if he can't, it'll be tough.
Me personally, I have no faith in Tua. I felt as though he should have retired after that second one last year. I mean, pretty decent quarterback and everything, but his health wise, I just don't want to see him go out there and just end it all. Like, yeah, you understand what I'm saying? And come out in the wheelchair or something. You know what I mean? For some reason, his body can't take it, man. That's just what I see, man. I wish him the best. I don't want to wish nothing bad on him, but yeah, bro, I'd wanted him to retire last year.
I agree, man. I think, all those signs to show you, and he wants to play again. And he said he thought about retirement. He should have did it. And for real, I know you're a Ravens fan, but Dolphins should have been all in for Lamar. If I was them, I'd have threw the kitchen sink at Lamar. Because you put Lamar over there with those pieces, man, it'd have been hectic. I don't think nobody want to see that over in that division at all. But I'm not going to bring your Ravens down like that. But I think if I was them, I'd have been all in for him. Because really, they should have drafted Justin Herbert instead of Tua. That makes no sense. But we know politics, always. So, at number 19, you got the New Orleans Saints. They signed Derek Carr. So now they're saying, if we got a guy that we can trust, because they had Andy Dalton, even though they had Jameis Winston last year, they still decided to start Andy Dalton. So Derek Carr coming in, they did great with getting Chris Olave last year. They still bringing Michael Thomas back. You got Alvin Kamara that has to deal with some off-the-field issues, but they signed Jamal Williams from Detroit. He led the league in touchdowns last year, so maybe he'll step in and fulfill that role. I still think that coach, Dennis Allen, is not the guy. I think if they had Sean Payton, I feel differently about him, but I think Dennis Allen's not the guy. So I got them at 19. And in that division, I still say with Derek Carr, they might be the face of the division. Even though I have Atlanta higher than them, because I like what Atlanta is doing. I think Atlanta still is unknown at the quarterback, but they have great skill positions and they worked on their defense. And I like that coach better than New Orleans coach. So New Orleans at 19. At 18, I have Minnesota Vikings. They made a great pick in the first round because they got rid of Adam Thielen. They got Jordan Addison from USC to be on the other side of Justin Jefferson. So that's a great pick. But in the backfield, they didn't want to sign Cook. They said his contract is $19 million. So they signed Madison, his backup, to a nice extension. So the word is really out whether he will sign back with them or they'll release him. But the problem is Kirk Cousins. He's not a winner. You paid him all this money and you haven't been back to the promised land yet. And I think you had Hinkie or whatever when you went to, if I'm not mistaken, you had another quarterback that took you to the conference finals. And you wanted Kirk Cousins to come in and lead you back to that. He hasn't. But you keep paying him. Who knows why? Jefferson is all world, but they're struggling on the defensive side of the ball, And in that conference, Detroit defense is not good. Minnesota defense is not good. Green Bay is supposed to have a good defense, but he had questions at quarterback. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that develops in that conference. And Chicago has Justin Fields, and they may take a leap. I don't know, but we'll see. Next up, we got Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson hadn't played football in 2 years. Came back, looked really rusty. But if he can have a good offseason and come back, because he got Amari Cooper, he got Nick Chubb in the backfield, good offensive line, Donovan Peoples-Jones on the other side. You got a great tight end. You drafted the receiver from Tennessee. So the pieces are there. And hopefully the defense can stand up because they have problems on the defensive line, linebacker. And hopefully they can shore that up. But if you get Deshaun Watson back to what he was prior to all this nonsense that went on, I could see them being tough in that division. And that may be one of the toughest divisions in football this year. Because if Cleveland has weapons, Baltimore has weapons, Cincinnati has weapons, and Pittsburgh is no slouch. So that's going to be a tough division. But if you got a top 5 quarterback in Deshaun Watson kind of leading your squad, I feel good about that. But we don't know yet. So that's why they're at 17. If I knew that I was going to get primetime Deshaun, they'd be further up in the top 10 without a question. Without a question. Next up, I have the Atlanta Falcons, right? Everybody looked at the situation where the Atlanta Falcons drafting Bijan Robinson at number 8. And I even looked at it like, what are they doing? But I understand, right? They were the top 5 running team last year. And they have Arthur Smith as the coach. He's coming from that Tennessee situations where ground and pound. So he saw the situation, let's get the best player. They said that Bijan Robinson was a top 3 player. You get him at 8. You have a tight end that you drafted in the top 5. You got Drake London that you drafted last year. And you got the quarterback that you drafted in the second round that won the last 2 games of the season. So you said you're not going to be in a Lamar Jackson race. You're going to be in this race, but you're not paying your quarterback a lot of money. That's the formula. If you're not paying your quarterback a lot of money, you can surround them with great pieces. That's what Philadelphia did. That's what Seattle did. That's what a lot of these teams did when they won the Super Bowl. You know? And Philadelphia didn't win the Super Bowl. They went there last year, and they're paying them this year. But they put the pieces around and sustain the system before you pay the quarterback. That's the formula. And that's what Atlanta's trying to do. They made a trade and got free agency, got Jesse Bates to shore up the back end. They made a trade with Detroit to get Okudah, who was a number 3 pick 3 years ago, to help them out in the corner. So the defense is going to look totally different. And if Bijan Robinson is that guy and the quarterback can step up, Atlanta's going to be a dangerous team. So that's why I do have New Orleans at the top, but Atlanta's going to be a dangerous team. And I like the Atlanta Falcons coach better than the New Orleans coach. So at 15, I think I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. So the New England Patriots signed Juju Smith-Schuster. They signed Mike Gesicki. They are going to be well coached, and they're going to have good defense. So it all depends on Mac Jones. But Mac Jones struggled last year because he didn't have an offensive coordinator. They brought in the guy, Bill O'Brien, who destroyed Houston before Houston destroyed themselves, back in to be the offensive coordinator. So we'll see if that is the catalyst for them making a jump. Because they were one game out of making the playoffs last year. It all depends on Mac Jones and his development. Because it was rumors that they didn't believe in him and they were trying to trade him. But it didn't happen. He's still there. So we'll see. We'll see. Next up, I have the Giants at number 13. They signed Daniel Jones to a contract, but they're still in negotiation with Saquon Barkley. No Saquon Barkley, no chance. So it's really dependent on them getting Saquon Barkley signed. Because if they don't have him, Daniel Jones is going to look disastrous like he did against Philadelphia in that playoff game. Because he needs the complementary pieces around him in order for him to be successful. I give him kudos for getting Brian Daboll. He's been a great coach for them. He's really helped them out because they was really short offensively last year, and he still pushed them to the playoffs and beat Minnesota. So kudos to that. But everybody's getting better at skill positions, and you're going to have to score the ball because I don't think defensively you'll be able to stop people from scoring points. And you're going to be able to stop and get a couple stops, and I think that's what the game is turning into because it's becoming an offensive league, and that's what we have. So, at 13, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville is really in a great position. They have their coach. They have their quarterback. Trevor Lawrence really played tremendous. He came back from down 20 points to some amount of points against San Diego and actually won that playoff game. They have ETN in the backfield. They actually getting a receiver that was suspended, and that's like getting the number 1 draft pick. So I give him kudos for that.
Wasn't that against your guy, Big Idiot?
No, that was against the Chargers.
Okay, yeah, the Chargers. Okay, yeah. I just remember I bet on that game and you said the Chargers coach is stupid. So
Yeah.
yeah. And I won. He was right because he let him come back. Right?
Right. Yeah, I thought they should go get Sean Payton, and I would look at the Chargers totally different. They still have him, but they did get an offensive coordinator, so maybe they got the offensive coordinator from the Dallas, so maybe that'll help them. So Jacksonville is getting Calvin Ridley, who was the number 1 receiver for Atlanta a couple years ago before he got caught for the gambling situation. So you implement Calvin Ridley to be the number 1. You got Christian Kirk, and you had him at number 1 last year. So you move Christian Kirk down to the 2. You have Zay Jones. You have Evan Ingram at the tight end, and you drafted a offensive tackle because one of your defensive tackles is suspended for substance abuse for 6 games. So as long as they keep Trevor Lawrence up, I think that experience last year, I think they're going to take the next step. I think they're a dangerous team, and they're the team to beat in the AFC, in the division, AFC South. In the division, they're the team to beat. So next up at 13.
No, I think we had 12, right?
So next up is 12. My bad. Next up is 12 is Detroit Lions. Detroit Lions confused everybody in the first round. They traded back and they took Jamal Gibbs, a running back, at number 12. Then they took a linebacker at number 18. They were in a prime position to get great pieces. You could have got Anthony Gonzalez on the outside corner. You could have got all these different pieces. You didn't have to draft. You could have traded back. It was so crazy that the dude Gibbs was like, I didn't think I was going to get drafted. I thought I'd get drafted in the late 20s. So that goes to show you that I have no idea what they're doing. And then they drafted Hayden Hooker, who will be 26 when the season starts. I think him and Goff are maybe 1 year apart. So even if you get rid of Goff, you're going to have a 28-year-old player that has no experience starting for your team. What are you doing? I don't know. But last year they could score. And Jared Goff had a good season. They also lost Jameson Williams, who was out most of the season last year because he got caught. I don't understand this policy. He wasn't at the game. He wasn't on anything. He made a bet, and they suspended him 6 games for that. I thought sports betting was part of the culture now, but he suspended 6 games. So you'll have Amon St. Brown, and now when they drafted Gibbs, they also had DeAndre Swift. And as soon as they drafted Gibbs, DeAndre Swift asked, like, I need to get out of here. Why would you draft a running back at number 12 and I'm supposed to be your guy? So, and they also signed the running back from Chicago. So they signed a running back from Chicago to a 3-year deal, and then drafted Gibbs at number 12. It's confusing when you already hit DeAndre Swift, but I'll get to DeAndre Swift later. So they have skill positions. They can score the ball. Their problem was they couldn't stop anybody defensively. They made some cornerback pickups, so hopefully their backside will be I'll be okay. If this linebacker works out for them, that's going to improve their defense. I thought they could have possibly they drafted Hutchinson last year. If you'd have got Jalen Carter to be a bookend at the front, that'll put the pressure on your defense on a quarterback, and that means your corners wouldn't have to play so long. I thought that would have been the move. And then with the other pick, you could have traded back if you wanted Gibbs, back to 20, 25. So I don't think they did a good job with utilizing their capital with 2 first-round picks. I thought it was just bad decisions with those moves. But I think what they're doing and trying to build, they're building a good culture. The coach is building a culture over there. And I think Jared Goff had a good year. They have a solid offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the league. And their big question is stopping people. So if they're able to stop people, we'll see. So now, you said we were at 12, so we're at 11, right?
Yes, sir.
So at 11, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. So the Pittsburgh Steelers, and one thing that was funny in the draft is the New England Patriots traded with Pittsburgh so they can get their offensive tackle when they knew the Jets wanted him. So that was funny, and Bill Belichick did Coach Tomlin a solid by doing that. So that's what they needed. They needed an offensive tackle. They got the offensive tackle because they was having a problem with the offensive line. I think Pickett will be better. They have great skill positions on the outside. Good running back. Their defense is stout. They lost a couple of pieces, but they're known for their defense. So once again, that's going to be a treacherous division. Pittsburgh's not going to be any slouches. It's going to be dog-eat-dog situation over there. I don't know how it's going to work. Y'all got y'all trigger man, Baltimore back, but everybody's looking good in that division. It's going to be who can step up, who can win those division games, and who can out of conference and take care of that, because it's going to be crazy, man. That's a crazy division now. Everybody got a quarterback. You feel me? Everybody got a quarterback.
Right.
So, what you see in that division?
Well, Cleveland is Cleveland until they win. Cleveland has had the number one. They've drafted high for the last 15 years, so they got a lot of talent on paper over there. But until they can put it together and win, they just gonna be the Cleveland in our division that'll go out and beat up on everybody else's division and get them wins that people don't expect them to get, right? Pittsburgh, to me, Pittsburgh is in the barrel in our division to me, though, talent-wise, right? I seen them falter a few years ago, as far as the offense. When they lost Antonio Brown, they lost everybody. Like, their defense was always suspect to me, like, when we was playing, right? And now I see them rebuild, and they rebuild. It's like they in the rebuild mode to me. Cincinnati and the Ravens, Cincinnati, they ready. They primed. They'd have been to the ship. I mean, they ready. They got the weapons. It's like, I don't know I don't know. I'm not in their locker room and I don't follow them, but they have the talent. It's just like they just lose the key game though with Cincinnati.
I think it's their defense. I think their defense is not top notch, right? It's an okay defense. It's not a great defense, and I think that's their hindrance. And then also, right. T. Higgins hasn't been as healthy as he needs to be, and it seems like when they get into those situations, their defense let them down against Cincinnati. I mean, against Joe Burrow. I mean, against Kansas City, their defense let them down. And usually their defense steps up and they play pretty good, but they just couldn't. Oh, that was the game we talked about last year when they gave Pat Mahomes like 5 downs or something like that, something crazy. But right. You know, that's refereeing or whatever. We thought they should have lost. I truly believe if Cincinnati would have played Philadelphia in the Super Bowl, it would have been a blowout, man.
right? And then I just talk about the Ravens whenever you bring them up.
No doubt, no doubt. So Pittsburgh got 11. I just want to hear you. So I got the Cowboys at 10. The Cowboys lost Daniel Schultz. We lost Zeke. Tony Pollard. We don't know if he's going to be healthy. But the Cowboys fans are delusional. They signed Brandon Cooks. He's been on 5 teams. And they signed Stephon Gilmore as if he's 25 years old. That's an old Gilmore. So they're excited about that. Then in the first round, they draft Mozzie Smith from Michigan, and they think that's going to be a great pick. I think they've fallen back. You still have Dak Prescott who can't make the plays. I think they made a bad decision getting rid of Amari Cooper for a bag of peanuts, and they're still reeling from that. So Cowboys at 10, and I think it's going to be a race between the Eagles and the Cowboys because the Giants, they don't send Saquon Barkley, they're done. And the Commanders starting Sam Howell. You can't go into a battle with a water gun, and people got real guns. You can't do that. So I don't know how they think that's going to be with Sam Howell at the ranks. And they think they believe in him. So we'll see. So at number 9, I got the Los Angeles Chargers. Justin Herbert is all world. They picked up his 5th-year option. Their defense was kind of shaky after they spent all that money on those players. They're hoping to be healthy on the defensive side of the ball. I still don't believe in that coach, though. I don't believe in that coach. They drafted Quentin Johnson to help out because Keenan Allen's getting a little older. Mike Williams can't stay healthy. They're having issues with their running back as well. Eckler wants to be paid, so he hasn't signed. He's asking to be traded, but the market is not good, so we'll see if he comes back. If he comes back, they have a complete offense. You know, the offensive line is pretty good, and they're adding another weapon for Justin Herbert. They did get the offensive coordinator from the Dallas Cowboys, so he's going to be the new offensive coordinator. So hopefully that'll give them some variety and really allow Justin Herbert to break out. They paid big money for the cornerback from New England, Jackson, but he was injured and didn't live up to the billing of who they thought he was. So they kind of put money into positions and not getting a return. I still believe that Brandon Staley is not the guy, and they're going to continue to struggle with him. But they're at 9. Top 9. The next person I have is the Jets at 8. So you have Aaron Rodgers, who forced the Jets to bring in some of the guys from Green Bay. I never understood how these white quarterbacks can make all these demands and they clamor over all these white quarterbacks when he has 1 Super Bowl, right? A guy that has 3 MVPs and 1 Super Bowl. Wow, that's 39 years old. That takes sabbaticals and don't even love football. Why y'all putting so much faith in him? That's kind of like the faith they put in when they got Brett Favre, and he won you nothing. They still looking for Joe Namath, right? That's what they trying to recreate. This guy said he doesn't want to play with young guys, right? And some of their best guys are young guys. Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, excellent.
The Jets actually was one of my sleeper teams last year. They got a lot of good young talent. They had a good defense last year.
Ross Gardner, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and they just didn't have a quarterback. Well, they had a lot of good pieces out there last year. That's what I say. That's what I remember. Picking them in the pool. I was picking the Jets as an upset.
I mean, okay. The defense was great, man. So they thinking that Aaron Rodgers can be the savior on the offensive side of the ball and put him in great position. You got Breece Hall that got hurt last year who was tearing it up. They had a great draft. Sauce Gardner locking down the corner. You got Justin Williams and the offensive line. They got pieces everywhere. So we'll see if Aaron Rodgers was the missing piece. All I know is he had opportunities to win championships and just faded in the playoffs. What I saw on Green Bay teams that probably were more talented than this team. Because he's definitely had a stud at wide receiver, Monte Adams. But I think he got a more variety of pieces over here. So we'll see what happens. See what happens. At number 7, I have the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks had a good draft. They drafted a corner from Illinois. And then with that second pick, they took the top receiver from Ohio State. So you have DK Metcalf. You have Tyler Lockett. And you drafted dude NG from Ohio State. So now, and you re-signed Geno Smith. So now you have a great situation for Geno to be a distributor. He had a good season last year, but he couldn't beat San Francisco. So that's going to be his nemesis because San Francisco is going to be the toughest team in his division. If he can get over him and beat San Francisco, Seattle's going to be a dangerous team. But like you said about Cleveland, you got to show up and you got to beat people. If you can't beat San Francisco, who's the bully of your division, then you're going to be in the same position you was last year because you got blown out by them in the playoffs. And
with a backup quarterback. With a backup quarterback.
Yeah, Geno Smith, with Purdy, and Geno Smith couldn't make the plays. And when I get to San Francisco, they still crying about they could have won the Super Bowl. They would beat Philadelphia if their quarterback was healthy. They played with 10 players. They still crying about their playoff game, man. Whining 49. Whining 49. Like, come on, stop it. So I give Seattle great for the draft. They drafted great. And now they just got to put them together on the field. I think they're trying to recreate the Legion of Boom. Drafting that guy in the 3rd round, he turned out to be a great corner, long and rangy. Then he drafted this physical guy from Illinois, Witherspoon. You can see they're trying to create the Legion of Boom again. And they drafted a running back from Shea Benet from UCLA, so they're going to have a 1-2 punch at the running back. So Pete Carroll's trying to get back to what he had before. Ground it, make plays, defense make plays, and win and grind it out. At number 6, your Baltimore Ravens. So go ahead, man. I know you want to talk about it. Go ahead.
I mean, I had them a little bit higher though, so they had a very good offseason. You got to remember that.
So where you had them at? They number 6. You gonna put them over who?
Oh, you said I'm gonna put them over?
Yeah.
Who I'm gonna put them over?
Yeah.
Who we got left? Who you got left?
Buffalo, 49ers, Kansas City, Cincinnati, and the Eagles.
Buffalo, Cincinnati. All right, so in the AFC, I got them top 3 in the AFC.
That's fine.
Right.
And they are top 3 in the AFC at number 6.
And but as far as the only team, what was the 3 teams in the NFC?
It's the Jets, the Ravens. No, it's the so the Ravens are 3, Buffalo is 2, right? So you got them over Kansas City and Buffalo?
I got them over Buffalo. Buffalo.
But this is why I didn't do it, yo. Lamar Jackson got to learn a new offense, yo. And that's
I ain't worried about that. That's not what.
We talking about what we know. We know what Josh Allen is. We don't know what the offense is going to be in Baltimore, so we got to see it, right? This is just a situation where we just ranking them based off the draft and where they at.
Right. So, and the reason why I said I had them higher is because our draft actually started for us at the trade deadline. So when we went and got Roquan Smith, we gave up our 2nd round pick. So we got Roquan Smith in the middle to solidify our defense for our 2nd round pick for this year. So when we look at our picks, you got Zay Flowers, you got Roquan, and you got Trenton Richardson, and back on the defense, the outside linebacker whatsoever, and then everybody else that we picked up. The other the offensive guard, and the injured offensive tackle, who should have been in a first-round draft pick, but he won't even play till next year. But what I'm saying, the reason why I said that is because they paid Lamar. See, when I look at the game, and we go back to coaching, right? Remember, I used to always scream, it's a dictatorship. I don't care who you put out there. I don't care what defense you line up. I don't care what offense. We dictate what you're going to do. I'm going to make you move those guys. And the it factor to me is, the reason why I like the guy so much is he's unorthodox. You got to plan for Lamar legs. You got to plan for his legs. Now, I just added weapons. You just added. And I'm not even talking about OBJ. We know what OBJ brings to the table. My weapon is the kid, the X-Man, Xavier Flowers. Why? Because now I got two dynamic at the same time that has to be accounted for. And you can't put nobody one-on-one with either one of those guys. Both of them will make you miss. Both of them got home run hit in the building. That's dangerous to me. That's dangerous to me. That's telling me if I send this dude in motion, it's gonna put your defense in jeopardy.
See,
like I'm just looking at that dynamic of the game.
And see, I don't disagree with you at all. But you say you got to worry about Lamar legs. They trying to make him, with all these weapons around him, a pocket quarterback, yo. They're not trying to unleash him, because I think what happens is the last time he got hurt, the last two times he got hurt, he was in a pocket. Bringing all these weapons around him meaning they're going to be in the pocket more. So you got to see how that develops. I'm not saying that Zay Flowers is not a great pick. That's a home run hitter. I don't think OBJ going to be healthy the whole season. I don't believe that. But Lamar Jackson is the ultimate weapon. We got to see what he does with this new offense, man. It's a wait and see.
And I know you said Buffalo, right? See, I look at Buffalo, like you said earlier. Buffalo, you said Miami had a good defense and all that stuff like that, right? I look at these teams. We was putting 30 up on. We put 30 up against both of them teams. Our defense lost the game against both of those teams late in the game when we had Patrick Queen in the middle, right? Our defense got better in the second half of the season when we went and picked up Roquan. You have a solidified defense. We up 14 points in the fourth quarter. We should have been 5-0, 6-0 coming in the beginning of the season. Those teams, those guys don't scare me offensively. Our sorry defense had them contained for 3 quarters. That's how I look at the game when I'm looking at the matchup. Like, wait a minute. Like, the dictatorship is, see, this is the dictatorship. We hoping that we saying that, okay, we're going to make Lamar pass up, right? Okay, but if I come out there and I spread you wide, 5 wide, right? 5 wide, and I got Lamar in the backfield, that's a problem. And he ain't even got to throw the ball. Just on the mere fact is y'all got to cover first. And you know what's going to happen when he getting over the field. Go ahead.
Yeah, but we can talk about this once we see it week 4. This is the conversation we're supposed to have. We don't know right now. That's why I'm not saying all that. I see all the pieces. I see what can happen. Once the season starts, when you're on every week and we talk about the games, then we're gonna have that conversation, because then you're gonna say, see, now they can't do this, they can't do this. So we'll see what the offense is. We don't know though. That's why I didn't put them in the top 3, because we don't know what the offense is. And most of these guys, we have the unknowns. I had them lower, but I believe in y'all defense and I believe in what y'all doing. So I put y'all in the top 6. It's not bad.
No, I ain't saying it was bad, but look, I'm just arguing for my team. But this is the thing. I'm looking at OBJ, Zay Flowers, and what's the other kid that they picked up? The slot guy.
Zay Flowers is a slot guy. It's the guy that got hurt last year.
No, the other is Aguilar. Ain't that his name, Aguilar?
Oh.
We got Aguilar.
Oh, y'all picked him up too?
Yeah, we got. He was the first one he picked up. Then they went and got OBJ. Then they got Zay Flowers in the playoff in the draft. Right.
Who was the guy that got hurt last year? Who was the guy that got hurt last year? And he was supposed to be our number one.
It was what's his name? It was it Duvernay or Robinson? Those were the guys that we had. Duvernay.
No. The guy y'all drafted. The guy y'all drafted last year. The guy y'all drafted the year before from Minnesota.
Oh, I'm bad with names, though. I forgot, but this is what I'm saying. The offense with Mark Andrews, Duvernay, Robinson, with what we had already. Last year was already showing signs. We was already putting up 30. I just added fuel to the fire now. I got these guys. I got OBJ coming in to compete with the number one. Yeah, he's supposed to be the number one, but you still got to compete with the guys that was here already, that was already in sync.
I think OBJ is number 2, though.
Bro, we think alike. I got OBJ. All I need from OBJ is end zone targets inside the 20. Be that guy with the hands, because we're gonna get the ball down to the red zone. That's a given. We can still run the ball. We got a good offensive line. We can still run the ball regardless. Good offensive line. My tight end's still there. My vets, I'm gonna call them the vets. The guys that's been on the team already as far as receiving, we still there already. They still there. Putting points on the board never was an issue. Now we just added more pieces. We added the big names. That's all we did was we put big names at key positions.
Yeah, I mean,
that's just what I see. So, me personally, I got us number one in our division because we had a chance with our backup quarterback to beat Cincinnati in the playoffs last year. That's with the backup. That's with the backup. You understand what I'm saying? That was with the backup. But the only I'm gonna tell you, and this is what I wanted to ask you because I didn't see it. How was Kansas City's draft and what did they lose during the offseason? What did they lose in game during the offseason? Because that's going to matter to me. Actually, I really do have, like, I look at the Jets, right? And I look at what the Jets did last year. Same thing. All they needed was somebody that could come in and manage the team for real. Because they already had the team. Now you insert a quarterback. Man, I got the Jets up there. Aaron Rodgers, he got to learn, and everything like that. But my thing is with Aaron Rodgers, did Green Bay see in Aaron Rodgers what Seattle might have saw in Russell? And Aaron Rodgers was losing to me down in Green Bay because it ain't like he was running away with the division. I remember them being so far behind. He told everybody relax.
Yeah. They missed the playoffs last year.
Right. So, but you said that the Green Bay team was better than the Jets. I don't know. I thought the Jets team was better, winning the way they was winning without the QB.
No, what I said was he didn't play on a couple Green Bay teams that were better than the Jets now. That's all I said. Not last year. Yo, I got y'all there. Yo, it's unseen. We're gonna come back after a couple weeks of football, and we're gonna talk about this again. And then that's when we'll have clarity on all of this. Because this is just what I see right now. You know what I'm saying?
True that. I like that. And then we just picked up a corner. What you think about that corner that we just picked up from the Raiders? What's his name? Rion? Oh, something. I I forgot his name. You know, I'm bad with names. I got to look it up.
Well,
But
I
if
think anytime you pick someone over from the Raiders, yo, their corners have been terrible, yo. So hopefully he can come over there and get the Baltimore way and figure it out. But they didn't have any corners last year that was really that tough. So, you know, there might have been something that a diamond in the rough that you find, and he comes over there and be a great.
He was with the Colts last year. I think he got hurt, and then he went to the Colts last year and got hurt again. Shit like that.
Well, I don't know, man. But I know y'all lost Calais Campbell, but he was older. Y'all got the offensive coordinator from Todd Monken, so it's gonna be kind of pivotal to see how he implements that offense. I think y'all gonna be dangerous because Lamar is dangerous. You got to just have a healthy Lamar. He can't get hurt no more. But I think it's gonna cut down the targets that Mark Andrews get. So it's going to be a lot of mouths he got to feed, and how can he manage that?
That's a good problem to have, because everybody last year, for the last 3 years, everybody really dropped back the ball was going to Mark Andrews. Everybody, and it still got there. Now you're telling me I can send Andrews and then send Zay Flowers right up underneath of Andrews, and then you had to pick your poison.
We'll see, man. You said you don't like your coach or whatever, so we'll see how that plays out. Right?
I don't like Harbaugh. I still don't have his. Woo! If I stick to my guns, man. If I stick to my guns, I don't like Hugs. So I gotta see how this guy. If he come in, if that guy come in and be like, what was our coach that left and went to Denver to be the head coach? When Lamar had his best season. No, Flacco had his best season. He was our offensive coordinator, then he went to go ahead and be Denver head coach. Damn it, what was his name, yo? If Monk come in and do like that, if he come in and like, I got this offense, I'm running the show, and he great trying to get a head coaching job, then we might be fine. We're gonna be fine. We'll be fine.
But you see, it's the what ifs, right? It's all the what ifs. So let's move forward, though, yo. I mean, I like Baltimore. It's gonna be exciting to see what happens. You know, before we know it, it's gonna be August, and they're gonna be having these preseason games. The first preseason game is August the 3rd, I think. And Cleveland plays somebody in a Hall of Fame game, so we'll be here before you know it. We're already in May, June, July, August. That'll be here before you know it. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. Next up, I got Buffalo at number 5. You know, they picked up an offensive tackle from Florida who was a first-round talent. They got him in the second round. They picked up a tight end, Dalton Kincaid, who they say was a top 15 pick, and they got him at like 26 or 25. And they traded up in front of Dallas because Dallas wanted him. You know, they lost Trayvon Edmonds in the middle of the defense. I think they're going to get back. What's the guy that played with the Rams and he played with Denver and he got hurt last year and they didn't have him and he was supposed to be that missing piece? I forgot his name. So they're going to get him back. And if Josh Allen can stay healthy because he's running the ball too much, I think one of the Achilles' heel is running the ball. And that's why they lost against Cincinnati last year in the playoffs. Everybody had them as a Super Bowl favorite. But if you can't run the ball in December, in January, you can't win. But we know what they're going to do, right? So that's the only reason I got them above the Ravens. We know exactly what they're going to do. We know what they have on the plate. And it all depends on how all the pieces come together. But I got them at 5. I got San Francisco at 4. I know everybody's going to say you had question marks. But nobody, whatever they put behind the center, you have skill pieces all around. The defense is top notch, one of the best defenses in football. They stole Javon Hargrave from the Eagles, signed him to a big contract. I wouldn't say stole because they paid him $20 million. So that front four is dangerous. They got one of the top linebacker duos. They signed Sam Darnold. They got Trey Lance, who might come back. Purdy still was an injury. So they got like 5 quarterbacks. I guess that coach said we're not going to be in the same position that we was last year, starting Josh Johnson. So their team, I don't think Purdy, if you see him again, he'll be the same quarterback. Trey Lance hasn't played enough football. If you put Sam Darnold out there, he understands the game. And with that kind of system that Shanahan puts in place, you got the all-world back in the backfield. So you got Debo and all these guys over there, and he puts your people, his offensive skill positions in one-on-one battles and puts stress on your defense to make a tackle. And if you can't make that tackle, and these are hard to tackle, George Kittle and things of that nature. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully, if Seattle can bump them and bang them up a little bit, they won't be as dangerous. But they have all the weapons around them. They have a great team. And all they need is a trigger man. They got rid of Jimmy G, so it's next up. And number 3, I got Kansas City. Kansas City still going to have Patrick Mahomes. And as we see, they still got Travis Kelce. They got Sky Moore, who they traded for. They traded for the guy from the Giants. So they have all these little scat guys and skill guys that can catch the ball, and they got to step up. But Patrick Mahomes have shown he can do it on any level, no matter what. They drafted a guy named Rashad Rice, who should come in and fulfill that Juju Smith role, and let's see what happens. They drafted very good on the defensive side of the ball, and those guys made a lot of plays last year. Now it'll be their second year in the system, so we'll just see.
What did Kansas City lose?
They lost Juju Smith-Schuster.
That's it.
And they lost their offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy.
That's
and Orlando Brown. But they signed Jawan Taylor to replace Orlando Brown.
Right.
And Andre Wilder. So they improved their offensive line.
Now, my thing is with Kansas City is the Eagles exposed them last year in the Super Bowl. Shit, the Bengals was exposing them for real. They just knew how to win. They just got over the hump. It's like they just knew how to win. Great coaching, Eric Bieniemy. That was excellent coaching in the Super Bowl because that's all it was in the Super Bowl. They just got coached. That game was supposed to be over. The Eagles just got outcoached in the second half.
I still think the field had something to do with it as well. You don't roll like you feel out in the biggest game of the year. You don't do that.
I mean, even like I said before, even with the field did play into position, right? But knowing that the field, that's like us walking out there and be like, yo, field muddy as I don't know what. We ain't gonna be able to get no traction. Like we can't get no traction, they can't get traction either. So this is what we gonna do. We gonna line Brandon up at the wide receiver and bring him in motion and give him the ball in reverse because the linebackers and stuff ain't gonna be able to stop on the dime and come back and with that speed coming around. That's just coaching. That's the dictatorship.
But when your team had the most sacks as the Chicago Bears, and that's what your defense is based on, your front point, and you can't get a push off, it hinders your defense. And that's why they couldn't stop them in the second half because they couldn't get pressure on Patrick Mahomes, who was wobbling. If you don't have traction, you can't get pressure, and it handicaps your defense. So that's all I'm saying.
What I'm saying is, and I understand that, right? What I'm saying is, in the first half, there was no Patrick Mahomes. The Eagles dictated what Kansas City could do offensively. It's just that Kansas City came out and they attacked the weakness of the field. Like, you know how when we used to come out there, okay, what's their weakness? Okay, we're going to attack their weakness then.
And I agree. Our defensive coordinator was terrible. The Philadelphia Eagles defensive coordinator was terrible. He did a terrible job in the second half and walked right into a head coaching job. That goes to show you that Arizona organization is idiots. If you look at this guy who couldn't get one stop in the Super Bowl in the second half, and you think he's the best candidate to be your head coach.
I don't think so. And I think Art Bieniemy should have got head coach, but he didn't get a head coaching job, did he? He got like another
offensive coordinator.
See, that's what I'm saying. He was supposed to get the head coaching job.
You give a guy like he was offensive coordinator for the Super Bowl champions. You give a guy that pretty much lost the game for the Philadelphia Eagles a head coaching job. That's the white man. You know, it's the good old white boy network, man. We know what it is.
I don't understand that. You know what I mean? But I think losing Art Bieniemy was big for the Chiefs as well. Even though I know old boy over there call offensive plays, and I know he think he guru master, but he wasn't guru master down in Philly. He couldn't win one.
He wasn't first. And then
he couldn't win. He ain't winning in Philly with all that talent.
I wouldn't say they had a lot of talent, man. Not all that talent. They just was more talent. He really coached that team up because they wasn't that talented, yo. If you look at the pieces in place, not like Kansas City was.
Kansas City started around the board, but they said that what? When he was down there, wasn't he the head coach when he had his dad?
Oh man, McNabb was a company man that threw up in the Super Bowl, man. You can't say that.
I'm just saying though. He had McNabb, he had T.O., he had
T.O. for 1 year. Other than that, that wide receiver core was suspect.
Look, I don't like him. And just like I don't like Harbaugh, they all come from that same camp.
Yeah,
Harbaugh come from his camp.
Yeah, I mean, but you know what I'm saying,
right? And I think that I think that that's the downfall. Letting Hurt be walk. I think that's the downfall for. And I just don't understand. I didn't know. I thought you could only leave your team to go up. I didn't think you could leave to go lateral. I wanted something like that.
No, you can do whatever you want, yo. It's the fact that he wanted to leave, so he left. They didn't want him to leave. He left, and the only thing he could get was that lateral move.
It's a shame, yo. He could have came and had the Ravens job in my book.
How about that?
I've been screaming for him for the last 4 or 5 years. I wanted him here. I wanted him in Baltimore. But okay, you got Kansas City at 3.
Yeah, I got Kansas City at 3. But it's the system that we have, yo. It's the system that's put in place, the matrix they put in place for us to have these situations where black people are looked at differently. You know, they own everything because we gave them ownership for segregation when we had our own stuff. So now they have ownership and they don't want to give it up. That's the reality of it. So I got Cincinnati at number 2. I know you said you got Ravens at number 1, but we know who Joe Burrow is. They've been to the Super Bowl 1 year, conference finals the next year, and since they had him, they've been riding high. So
Super Bowl 1 year, conference finals the next year. So this year he's kicked out of the wild card because it looked like they declined. They going the wrong way.
I mean, they went to the Super Bowl and really had an opportunity. They almost beat the Rams. And then they come back again. And it seemed like with that trigger man, Joe Burrow, he making it happen. They got weapons. You know, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. You know, they had Joe Mixon. He got trouble off the field, but the coach said Joe Mixon will be back. So they coming back with all their weapons. And they got Irv Smith at tight end. I mean, they lost Jesse Bates on the back end, and they lost Samaje Perine. I think they made a couple picks up in the draft, but we know what they are. Joe starts slow, and then they figure it out. I think they said last year when he started slow, they told him that he can make all the plays and the calls, and ever since then they went on like a 6 or 7 game win streak. I think he's different, man. He's a different guy. And he's a different guy. He knows how to win. So that's why I say that division is going to be a heck of a division. And we don't know how it's going to shake out. So we're going to go to the number 1. So, Philadelphia Eagles. I told you earlier that Detroit Lions drafted Jamal Gibbs. So for Philly, Howie Roseman got on the phone with Detroit and traded for DeAndre Swift. He's from Philadelphia. In the first round of the draft, they got the best defensive player, Jalen Carter. He fell to number 9. Philadelphia was at number 10. Traded with Chicago up one spot. He gave him a 3rd round pick. And got Jalen Carter to match him up with Jordan Davis, who they played on the same Georgia football team, defensive side of the ball, who won back-to-back national championships. Then at number 30, they get his teammate, Nolan Smith, who they said was a top 10 pick at number 30. So you pair Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, and Jordan Davis in that defensive rotation that led the league in sacks, had the most sacks since the Chicago Bears in '85. And you put all those pieces together, and then you drafted Nakobe Dean last year, who was also part of that defense. And then you turn around in the 4th round, you draft a Kiki Mingo, who was a top talent at the cornerback position, 6'2", ran a 4.3, 40. It's like they trying to call the Philadelphia Eagles the Philadelphia Bulldogs because they putting all those pieces together. They re-signed Jalen Hurts. And Jalen Hurts' contract doesn't really hurt them on the cap, the way they constructed it. Now you're coming back with DeAndre Swift. You signed it, Penny from Seattle. Your backfield was great, even though you lost Sanders. You got 2 studs at the wide receiver position, and then you made a trade for the slot receiver for the Falcons, and you still got Goddard at the tight end. Jason Kelce signed back up to be the actual center, so he's coming back. And they signed all their other guys, and they still got the corners on the outside. Draft a safety from Illinois, then draft another tackle from Alabama. So it's kind of like they restocking the shelf. And although they didn't win last year, I really think they will be hosting a trophy this year. They did a heck of a job in the draft. So there we have it, man. It's going to be an exciting year.
So do this. Give me your NFC Championship and your AFC Championship matchup. Who you got playing for the NFC Championship? Who you got playing for the AFC Championship?
Man, oh man, this is really different. But on the NFC side, it's really easy. It's going to be Philly and San Francisco again.
Okay.
On the AFC side, it's tricky, man. It's tricky. Because Kansas City is the standard, right? But I don't think Kansas City is going to make it again this year. I think something's going to happen. Where, like you said, Eric Bieniemy not being there, and they've been riding high for so long, I think it's time for them to take a stumble. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I think it should happen this year, and some new blood going to come in. The Ravens, I told you it's hard. I got to come back to you on the AFC. I think the NFC is a clear picture. The AFC is a cloudy picture. I got to see how things pan out to get a real understanding of who's going to come out that division.
If I had to pick the AFC without picking the NFC, I'm going to put my team in there. I'm going to say the Ravens and the Jets in the championship.
See, I don't have the Jets making it. I think Aaron Rodgers' fault is because he's playing against tough competition. He never had to play against tough quarterbacks over that. In the NFC, who was he playing against? Kirk Cousins?
But only thing, in that division, who in that Jets division, the AFC North?
You got Miami, New England, and Buffalo.
I know you had New England high. I really don't have New England that high. And Miami and Buffalo defense is both suspect to me. And the Jets beat them last year.
Yo, we only going by what we think is going to happen at the Wishland. Yo, we not going by what happened last season, though. Yo, so you gotta be.
But what I'm saying is, you know how you look at the Eagles and say, look, we let the league in sacks last year, right? The Jets had a good defense last year, and I don't think they lost anything.
And I put the Jets at number 7, yo.
Right. That's what I'm Yeah, so in their division, I'm just looking at their division. New England, they fell off to me. Uh, Miami and Buffalo, they suspect to me. You don't know if Tua gonna be there. The Bills
I
are suspect.
agree. I agree, but you still go. Aaron Rodgers still will have to be Patrick Mahomes, have to be Josh Allen, have to be all these other quarterbacks that's in that division, yo. Justin
But
Herbert.
Josh Allen with Buffalo though, right?
Yeah. That don't mean he ain't gonna make the playoffs. You still gotta, it's 7 teams that making the playoffs. So that means 1, 7, 2, 6, 3, 5, whatever it is. So he's still gonna have to face these quarterbacks when he never done that before. So that's the only thing. That's gonna be the icebreaker. Can he win in clutch time?
They I don't know. That's what we'll have to see. That's why they play the game, as they say. Yeah, man. That's why they play the game. But that's what I say. I got something like Cincinnati knocking off Kansas City early or something like that.
That's what I said. Yeah, see, that's why I said I don't think Kansas City gonna make it this year.
Yeah, and then I got Baltimore being strong. I got Baltimore beating Cincinnati. But as far as my sleeper this year, well, it can't even be a sleeper because they're a favorite now. But I do think, you don't even need Aaron Rodgers to come in there and be super superb. You need the defense to make stops, and Aaron gonna put up 20 points on the board. Who drafted a kicker? Somebody drafted a kicker this year real high.
San Francisco.
See, everybody thought that was dumb, but that was smart because they got a good defense. They can put points on the board. Now, if I can kick that big 55 yards out and put that 3 yards, you stop me. That's like the Ravens without kicking. Pressure.
Yeah, the thing is, they lost Robbie Gould left. So they ain't have a kicker, but you still don't draft him in the 3rd round.
Right.
Because I think he'd have been available in round 6.
So all right. So that's your team. So your NFC pick is San Francisco and the Eagles. I repeated last year, and I take the AFC pick. I got the Ravens and the Jets. That'll be my AFC pick. I got
early picks in May, man. It's too early.
It's just fun right now. It's just after the draft picks. Hey, we might come back in preseason after preseason because we will give our picks before the opening day, and it might be like, hey, man, I'm sticking with what I got.
Exactly. But I mean, this is good though, man. To go through all the 32 teams and to give my perspective, though, it was great. I like it.
Right. I like it. We appreciate it. Shout out to the people telling people what you got going on, what you got coming up next.
Yeah, so I'm going to be here every week, every Thursday, talking about football, all the sports. Baseball is rampant. We didn't even talk about baseball yet, but we'll talk about that next week.
How about the O's? How about them O's with their best record ever?
Yeah, they're pitching a little suspect though because they're giving up a hell of a runs, but they're doing pretty good. But yeah, like I said, we'll be here. We'll be talking about baseball. We'll be talking about the NBA. And as you see, running across the screen at Johnny J, at Johnny with J08. That's my YouTube page. Jump on that. I got a lot of things going on over there. Like and subscribe to this page as well as my YouTube page. Because we're gonna be giving you content. We're gonna give you sports, and I think I'm almost close to finishing my book. So I think my book will be out in June or July. Look for that. It's going to be eye-opener. It's going to open your eyes up to things that you're not thinking about, and it's going to really give you a different perspective from a grown man. So look for that.
All right. So that's what it is. Jay, I appreciate you. We appreciate you for being here. It's always love. Your insight is always love, and to be on point. Like I say when we talk on the phone and stuff, You give your own perspective from your own way, the way that you look at it, and you be right. It is funny how people that, it's funny how we guys, we sit up here, we talk shit, we be it out, you know what I'm saying? But the way that we look at the game, and I know people might say, oh, here Eagles fan, here Ravens fan, they homeless. Nah, not really. Because I'm the one that told y'all, I told y'all my Ravens was going to lose last year in the playoffs. Like, man, look, and I don't want to speak it in existence now because I see a change in culture. I looked at the interview the day that Lamar had, and I go on body language. I looked at EDC, I looked at Eric DeCosta. He looked like a general manager that's been beat up. He looked like he was like, man.
Yeah, I mean, nobody would know that I was an Eagles fan because I didn't say anything at all. They heard you talk about your Ravens, so they knew that you was a Raven fan. Until you said it, they wouldn't have known because I just come on here and I give my perspective. You know, I give my perspective from what I see, what I know, and how I look at it. So you'll never know who I like or who I don't like. The only way you know I like North Carolina Tar Heels is because it's behind me. But if I didn't have that behind me, you wouldn't know nothing. Because I'm an unbiased person. I just tell it like I see it.
Right. Now look, when I say I looked at that the interview this morning earlier.
You good, KB? Well, looks like he's having some technical difficulties. But like we said, we appreciate you joining in on the Urban Sports Review.
I got Billy bouncing.
So we appreciate you tuning in with us on the Urban Sports Review. We'll be here every Thursday at 6:30. Please come and join us. We want to get this into an interactive situation where we speak on topics. Y'all come and give y'all points of view. And we kind of talk about it, you know, respectfully, of course. But we like to give our perspective and understand exactly what you're thinking about these sports topics and how we look at the sports. So please make sure you tune in next week at 6:30 because we're going to have you have more perspectives on NBA. And if y'all want to talk football, we can. If y'all oppose what I said this week, come on and talk about it. Say, hey, Jay, I disagree with you on this. Give your point of view, and we can have a discussion. I love it. You know, I mean, because at the end of the day, it's everybody's perspective. And I want to hear what your perspective is on my list, how I broke it down. If you have any questions, just get at us. Say you want to come on the show. KB will put you on the show. We'll have a conversation. Let's do it.
That's right. It's adult sports talk over here. And Jay, thank you for coming. You know, it got kicked. I don't even know if the people heard what I was saying when they got kicked. I just had to look down. But I ain't even gonna say it again. We just said it enough. Bro, I appreciate you for being here. I appreciate everybody for coming up, for joining us. Like and subscribe to the channel, share it, leave the comments. Hit it on all platforms. Jay, my brother.
Absolutely, man. And then I think I'll have my Instagram set up by the next time we get on here next week. And I'll have my Instagram set up next week when we get on here, getting into the social media world. Here I come.
Jay.
I don't wanna wait till my niggas then gone to forgive them. I give them love while they living. I got water for every bridge that got burned from my niggas. We still here, still with it. I don't wanna wait till my niggas then gone to forgive them. I give them love while they live. I got water for every bridge that got burned from my niggas. We still here, still with it.
Still here, still with it. That ain't gonna change. Never wore a flag, but I'm still going bang. My niggas in trouble, shit, I'ma be in traffic. It's behind some dumb shit, we gon' let you have it. Shorty got asses, she gon' let me have it. She wanna feel this magic, I'ma let her grab it. Let nothing cut us off, we all from the same fabric. Some of you niggas' clothes get torn when you grab it. Yeah, never had a falling out, been too busy balling out. Anybody disrespect the team, then we call them out. Then we have a heart to heart, then we go and part them out. Then we go and party hard like we wasn't party house. House party part of me, the weed got me like that. Go against one of the team, we coming right back. Got a couple something with beams, the others night jack. Try to creep out in the dark and got a light snack. My niggas ain't tweaking on it. Say we on it, then we be up on it. Y'all niggas will be opponents. To lose your life, it could be a moment. So anything I gotta say to you, I'm speaking on it. I don't want no beef, and if you feel like it's an issue, then let's meet up on it. Throw them hands on that black top and leave it on it. We grown now, all that static gon' defeat the moment. Let's just smoke and throw that piece up on it.
I don't wanna wait till my niggas then gone to forgive them. I give them love while they live. I got water for every bridge that got burned from my niggas. We still here, still with it. I don't wanna wait till my niggas then gone to forgive them. I give them love while they live. I got water for every bridge that got burned from my niggas. We still here, still with it.